Hello, everyone, and welcome to Live Signing. I'm Danny Valdez, and I'm so glad to welcome actor and director Justin Baldoni for the live signing of his book, Man Enough, Undefining My Masculinity. What a cool title. Justin, welcome, and how are you today?
Good, man. Good to talk to you, Danny. I like your shirt.
I like your shirt.
You're rocking it, man. Looking really good.
Thanks,
You
man.
got a Hawaiian background.
Yeah, I know. Hey, if you save $6.99 and go to H&M, you could get this shirt.
I like it. I
Yeah.
actually think I'm down. I don't know
Yeah.
if I can pull it off like you can, Danny, but I'll try. I like it.
Yeah, well, I'll be growing my hair out soon,
Hey, buddy. Long hair, don't care.
and then we'll do an HGTV show. Hey, set the scene. So where are we? Is this your home? What are we looking at behind you?
But this is what I'm in a tiny house.
Yeah.
Actually, it's a mini home.
Yeah.
See that? We have so our house, we actually live over there.
Okay.
But this is our little getaway. We above me there's a bed, and this is the bathroom here.
Nice door.
Oh, yeah, isn't that cool? Craftsmanship.
Yes, man.
It's
What?
yeah, it's really it's a sweet little tiny house. We wanted to build a kind of this escape, a sanctuary for all of our LA friends and family
Yeah.
to get out of the city and come and stay with us and
Oh,
not have
wow.
to be in our house and hear our kids fighting and screaming at all hours of the day and night. So that during the day, it's my office.
And now you're married with two kids,
I am married with two kids.
and how boys or girls, and what ages?
My daughter Maya is almost 6. And my son Maxwell's 3.5.
Oh, yes. Yes. I remember those years. I'm in the teen years.
You're so young.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I look young on Zoom. Thank you very much. So for those of you
Don't we
tuning in,
all?
don't we all? For the next hour, Justin is going to be signing books and answering as many of your questions as possible. And if you've not yet purchased a book, you actually still have time to order an autographed copy and submit a question to Justin. Just click over to premiercollectibles.com/man enough to order your copy. And I love this look of this book, bright yellow, Mr. Baldoni on the front cover with his amazingly long hair. Have you always had long hair? Did you just grow it out or what?
No, actually, I've spent the last 5 years on Jane the Virgin having short hair. So what I'm trying to do is, if you get the book, yeah, you got to do this. See, we look like brothers. Look at that. We could be property brothers together. Could be HGTV. I want everybody who buys the book to take a picture of themselves with the book like this, because the whole idea is that we're all one, man. We're all together.
Oh, I love that. And so what if we did that? I'll lead out and do it. And can we tag you on Instagram or something?
Yeah, do it. Absolutely. You just got the trick is to align the face, right? So it's like you gotta play. It's the perspective. So it's like, there's mine.
Yeah, I don't have a monitor, but I don't know. I'm close. I'm close. I bet.
Oh, you're just in front of a camera?
Yeah, I just see. Yeah, I see you. I see you as well, but I don't see me.
Oh, got it. It's probably better that way.
For the best.
I hate looking at myself in interviews.
Well, it looks like a fantastic book. It's a book on masculinity. Why did you write this book, and why now?
Woo! How much time do we have?
We have at least 45 more minutes.
Look, I think that this isn't talked about enough. And when it is talked about, oftentimes as men, we're kind of shamed and told that we are toxic and terrible and bad. And I really wanted to have a conversation that was underneath all of that, because I'm a man and I love being a man. I'm not going to apologize for being born a man, but I will apologize for the way that I've been socialized and the actions that I've taken and the way that I've hurt people. And I think that's really important. And so really what this book is, this book is a question.
Yeah.
It's a question that asks us all to go deeper, to ask ourselves why, to undefine what it means to be a man, to make room for anybody who identifies as a man to be a man. it forces us to really look at the way that we're socialized. What matters to us? What's important to us? How do we view ourselves in relation to others? What about the language that we use? Do we allow ourselves to feel all the things that we need to feel, or do we repress them and only allow ourselves to feel the socially acceptable things like anger and rage? It's how are we in relationship to our partners? Are we kind to ourselves? So the book is broken up into chapters. Here, I'll read what the chapters are. And the whole idea is that as men, we're taught and we're told that we have to be a certain way to be enough. We have to be X enough.
Yeah.
And I want to throw that on throw it out, flip it on its head. And the purpose of this book is to remind men that they are enough as they are, that we are enough as we are. We don't have to be all of these things. We don't have to be brave enough or big enough or smart enough or confident enough or privileged enough or successful enough or sexy enough or loved enough or dad enough to be enough. We just have to recognize that who we are as we are is enough. And learn to have some self-awareness and go deep and use a lot of these traditionally masculine ideas and words to go and explore ourselves, to be okay with the feminine, whatever that means, aspects of who we are, empathy, compassion, sensitivity, to be okay having those things. And also, if we're okay having those parts of ourselves, then we need to be okay with women having more traditionally masculine parts of ourselves. And we need to be able to make space for everybody to live in this world. And at the end of the day, these are all very basic human things. And that's what Undefining this is all about. This isn't about masculinity or femininity. This is about just being human enough. But my conversation and my work is specifically with men, because I really think if you look back at most of the problems that exist in the world today, we are at the center of them, right? We're not like, women aren't out doing mass shootings, right? Women aren't out like, sexually assaulting 1 in 5 women, right? Women aren't doing these, men are. And instead of being defensive about these things, we need to take it, shut up, listen, and then maybe examine why this stuff is happening in the world. And that's what it's about, man. It's not an attack on men. It's, if anything, it's a love letter to men. And what it really is a meditation on masculinity. It is me sharing my shit, my stuff, the stuff that we don't talk about as men, the stuff that I've never talked about, the stuff that my wife didn't even know half the stuff I put in this book. My parents, my sister, my family is reading this book and in real time learning so much about me. And I wanted to share this stuff because I hope it will invite other men into their own versions of that stuff, into their own stories, so that we can have a more just and compassionate world. And that starts with ourselves. That starts with us men looking in the mirror and doing that work with an audience of one.
Oh, that's so good. And I love that you brought up, as you were reading through Brave Enough, Big Enough, Smart Enough, these are chapters. Oh, hey, who's that?
Samantha. I've been doing press and interviews all day long. I haven't eaten anything since 6 this morning. I didn't even eat this morning. I just had coffee. So she brought me a shake. Thank you, Samantha.
So great.
Shout out to Samantha.
Yeah, I just swallowed peanut butter toast like a pill right before this interview because I was like, oh, I should eat food today. That would be great.
Something. It'd be good to eat something. Some nourishment.
Yeah, so all the chapter titles are something enough, confident enough, privileged enough. What are you aiming at with this enough theme? Why that word?
Well, I think that word is the thing that we measure ourselves with as men. Are we successful enough, as an example?
Wow.
What does it mean to be successful enough as an actor, as a filmmaker? Is there ever going to be a point in time where I will feel successful enough?
Yeah.
We think that there will be a time, but in reality, there won't be a time, because the way in which we measure enoughness is a bridge to nowhere. It is a mountain that doesn't have a top. There's no ceiling to it. Because the thing about masculinity is that we're always striving for more. We want to acquire more. We want a bigger house. We want a bigger body. We want a bigger penis. We want more, 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 more. We want bigger, better. And that's a recipe for unhappiness, depression, and disaster in the end.
Yeah.
Because there's always going to be somebody with more. It's always going to be somebody better looking, with a better body, with a better six pack, with better
For me, you're that guy.
longer hair. And I'm sorry to be that guy, but what I hope I reflect back to you is that you have things that had I get a chance to get to know you, that I would then covet and desire. And so long as we're coveting other people's things and we're not looking at ourselves and having enough self-awareness to recognize that who we are is enough, then we'll never be happy, because all of our self-worth will be reliant on external factors. I'll always be comparing myself to you. Comparison, as we know, is the thief of joy.
Yeah.
But there's not a thing that's designed. There's no part of masculinity that allows us to be content with ourselves, because we are measuring it based on other people's masculinity.
Yeah.
So it's just an end. It's a means to an end that will get us nowhere.
I so appreciate you saying this and writing this book. You know, when I looked you up, the first thought in my head was, and I'm just being honest and vulnerable and non-professional right now, but the first thought in my,
F this guy.
No. Yeah. No, my first thought was, man, he's doing it. He is doing it. Leading man in a TV show, hair goals, body, like, that's what I want to do. Like, it was just this immediate rush of like, oh man, that, and you know what? I didn't process it consciously, but the thought in my heart, maybe not in my head, but in my heart was, man, then I would be enough. Then I would be doing enough. I would be successful enough. I would have enough, which is crazy for us to be talking now
about. Danny, I'm here. And so let me be here, right? So we rarely get a chance to then be in conversation with somebody we do that with, right? So
yeah,
you had that thought. So let me now be here with you on the other side and tell you that that's not how it works, because I don't feel enough.
Wow.
So now you get to listen to me, right? Yeah. You had that thought, you looked me up, you're like, who am I going to be talking to? Oh man, if I could just be like that guy, I'd be enough. And here I am reflecting back to you that guy also doesn't feel enough, because all of the stuff I'm doing isn't the answer. Jim Carrey, who I love, and politics aside, because he gets pretty out there.
Sure.
He said he wishes everybody can experience fame.
Yes.
So that they could realize that that's not the answer to happiness.
Dude.
And so what I can tell you is that I just wrote a book called Man Enough, yet the last however long have been battling my feelings of not feeling enough to have written it.
Oh,
and so there isn't a holy grail. There isn't an answer. And so long as we're comparing ourselves and looking for that pot of gold under the rainbow, we'll never find it.
Yeah.
It's here already. It's in each of us already. God created every single one of us noble. God created us to be enough as we are. We just have to look inward and find it, not looking outward. And that's why every chapter is titled Enough, because what is enough? There's no such thing as enough. Enough is what we decide it is.
Yeah.
So in terms of masculinity, enough is enough.
Wow.
In both terms. And that's why I call it Man Enough. That's why the chapters are written the way that they are. Because it's bullshit. It's all performative. None of it is real. It's a mirage. And enough is enough.
Wow. I have teenage boys, and they, regardless of what it looks like, whether it's a wrestling match or talking over me, making me feel like I'm the dad, and why are you talking over me? They seem to always be asking that question, am I enough? Or trying to prove that they are man and that they've got it. And so much of my time lately has been with them saying, man, I just want you to know you're it. Like, already, like, you've got it. You've got what it takes. You can pull off having your own place, driving your own car, being whatever you want to be, like you've got it. And I say that to my teenage sons, and yet I find myself, I think, needing to thoroughly go through this book.
It might be a great book to read together, but you got to remember that you can tell your kids all you want. The world is telling them something different.
Yeah.
And that's what masculinity enforces. That's that constricting man box that we're all put in, where, we feel like no matter what our parents tell us, that we have to be more, we have to be bigger, better, whatever. And it's important that you're telling them, reminding them that you already got it. It's already there.
Yeah. Now, this is really great too, coming from someone who is cast as leading man in a hit TV show. You know, how has that? How has acting? How has role playing, the leading man, if you will, informed this book, or has it?
Well, it has a lot because, you know, I grew up, and I'm sure I'm used to this now, but I grew up and I was a bit of an ugly duckling. The natural response is like, oh, come on. But that's what happens. And I was, you know, things grew out of proportion. Um, I have a big nose now, but
Bro,
boy, was it big.
I was just about to prove my nose size. If you cover everything.
Boy, was it big as a teenager, man. And so I never had self-confidence about myself. I was very insecure about my body. I was really skinny. So I always wanted muscles.
Yeah.
And then I reached a point where I became what may be conventionally considered attractive. And when I became an actor, I started getting auditions for these roles. And I would read these audition breakdowns. And for anybody who's not in the acting business, when you get an audition, the casting director sends an audition to your agent or your manager, and your manager sends it to you. And there's basically a description of the role, and it generally starts out in a superficial way. It describes their looks, it's from the outside in, and I think that's backwards anyways. But, you know, sexy, charming, hot, you know, smolder, all this stuff. And I would get these auditions, and at the beginning, I would call my manager back, and I'd be like, are you sure this is did you mean to send this to me? Are you sure this is for me?
Wow.
And what's wrong with you, dude? And because I didn't see myself that way, because that was never reinforced in me. That wasn't how the world saw me.
Yeah.
I wasn't ever known for being the hot, sexy guy. I was the friend. I had like 50 girlfriends.
Yeah. Yeah.
I talked to girls at night. I could kick ass on the field. I was the fastest, you know, one of the fastest kids in the state. But I wasn't, you know, I wasn't that guy. So I wanted to be. And then when I finally became that guy, I didn't feel like I was enough.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of pressure that was put on me as I started getting these roles. And I was like, you know, Steve Urkel in like a Gaston body. And I only bring that up because literally my best friend in the world, we were playing golf and I made a funny comment. He's like, you're so confusing, Justin. You're like Steve Urkel in one moment and like, but you look like Gaston. And I'm looking at you and I'm like, what is wrong? Like, this is weird. Cognitive dissonance here. It's because I'm a nerd.
That should go in that should be your new bio. Steve Urkel in a Gaston body.
Steve Urkel trapped in Gaston's body. And maybe that will be. I think I might do that. But all that aside, so you know, when I got Jane the Virgin, you know, I very much have gone on this journey where I'm so much also more than my body and my looks. So once I developed these things and I became an actor in Hollywood, and I started getting cast really only for what I look like. I've been like trying to break out of that box and remind people that I'm also so much more than my body and my looks. So, you know, I always try to remind people like I'm a filmmaker. I've been directing music videos and commercials for 15 years. You know, I'm a storyteller. I have a foundation. This is my work. Look at what we do. Now I'm an author, but it's so funny. I still go and do interviews, and oftentimes the first thing that is described is the heartthrob or the hunk.
Right.
But think about this. We just find women every single day. This is what women have been experienced, being, you know, objectified and sexualized in our culture forever. In a patriarchal society. So I can't complain, but I can bring attention to it. And in chapter 2 of the book, body image, head to toe and all parts in between, I tackle body image as it relates to men and body dysmorphia and muscle dysmorphia and what that's like, and my experience with it, and how I have been really blessed to have an acting career where I take my shirt off a lot, and I've been objectified and sexualized, and it's paid the bills. But at the same time, while doing that, I have constantly felt not enough, and have had to diet and do extreme things to get myself to a point where I'm only then perpetuating an image that I'm also suffering from. Because I, as a kid, would look at bodies like mine, and compare myself and want to look like that, because in my mind I thought that, oh, well, that's success. That means he's going to get the girl. He's the heartthrob on the show. Millions of women want him. I got to have a body like that. So in a sense, I'm playing a character that's perpetuating the same body dysmorphia that I have.
Yeah, wow.
Because there's a boy somewhere out there just like me who's watching this show, whose girl or wife is swooning over him, swooning over me, this character, and he thinks he has to look like that to be enough. Wow. And in reality, he doesn't, because the guy playing him doesn't feel like he's enough as he is.
He's going through the same stuff this guy's going through.
Exactly.
Seeing Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson just crushing all of our hopes and dreams.
I don't know if Dwayne's got these same things. Dwayne might be in a world of his own. I don't know if Dwayne's got my body image issues. But I will tell you that there's a pressure that Dwayne's going to have to look the certain way that he's going to look. And at some point, his body will not allow him to get there. And he's going to have to either allow himself to become normal and let go, or take steroids and drugs that risk his health to get there. And that choice he's going to have to make one day.
Yeah.
And that's going to come down to whether he's going to let masculinity win.
Yeah.
And what Dwayne does for all of us is when he hits 60, which is, I think, in like 8 or 9 years, and his body can't get there, maybe he can relax a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe he can fall into being, you know what, I'm going to be the overweight guy for a second. I'm just going to be a normal guy. What does it look like to have to wake up at 4 a.m. every single day and be the hardest worker in the room? I don't know. He's gonna have a choice he's gonna have to make, and I'm gonna be watching, because I want to see him also let go of that too, because he's such a good progressive man. But I worry for all these men whose bodies are huge parts of their personas and their careers. At some point, our bodies are gonna break.
Yeah,
and we are so much more than our bodies.
And I appreciate you calling it body dysmorphia and really tackling this issue of body image with men. I've literally never even heard anyone talk about body image as it relates to men.
Yeah. That's crazy.
I've never heard about it. And I've always thought about it for myself. There's not a day that goes by I'm not looking in a mirror, getting ready to do something. And dude, when I'm looking in that mirror, again, more vulnerability moments, I guess you unlock these things in people, but I'm looking in that mirror and I'm deciding like who I am, what I'm about. Do I have it? And often I'm frustrated. I've never thought about it. I've never thought about it. But if I think about the feeling I have often in front of that mirror, it's frustration.
Yeah. And most of us experience that frustration. Yeah. And that frustration lives in our bodies. And then it creeps up and enters into all of our conversations and relationships in a given day. And oftentimes that frustration with ourselves is taken out on the women we love the most.
Often my wife is
exactly.
Yeah.
Or if you're in a same-sex marriage or husband, it's taken out on the people that are closest in proximity to you.
Yep. Yeah, she's often asked, hey, what's wrong with you today? And I don't know. I don't consciously know. But in this interview right now, I'm thinking about it and I'm like, I'm not successful enough. I'm not blah, blah, blah. Anyways, I would hog all of this time, but we have so many questions that have come in.
Appreciate you. Listen, I appreciate your vulnerability, buddy. I appreciate you saying that. And I hope that it makes you think some more. I hope you read the book and you'll see a lot of yourself. We all go through the same things, but we don't think about it. And you're asking the questions now. Once you're asking the right questions, you can be aware of it. And I'll tell you what my wife says to me. Be nice to my husband.
Be nice. Oh, yes.
My wife says, be nice to my husband.
Because she loves her husband.
Yeah.
Wow.
She wants her husband to love himself.
That's so good, man. All right, let's go to Jose from Texas. And he asks, how is your relationship?
I'm going to start signing some of these books in the process.
Oh, yeah, please. Yeah. And hey, for those of you, if you don't know, a lot of signed books are really, the author makes one signature and then a printing press prints their signature in the book. This Premier Collectible Edition is not that way. He's actually signing every single book. So
I have signed thousands and thousands and thousands of books. I can't even imagine that there could be a printed signature and that would be considered a book. That wouldn't be fair at all. When you receive a book that's signed, just know that I signed it with love. Even though I'm signing and I'm signing it fast, it is my signature. And there have been a bunch of books that I have thrown out because I didn't like the signature.
Mm.
I just want you to know that. So, because if I mess up or if it doesn't look like, I'll just throw out the book.
Yep.
I'll eat it. So it really is my signature, and you'll see. And my signature changes based on how my wrist feels. So even though it doesn't look like my signature, I promise you that it is.
Oh, so good. Jose asks, how has your relationship with other men grown since you started being vulnerable around them?
That's an awesome question. I literally just got a voicemail from one of my best friends, Travis. Andy Grammer, one of my best friends, reached out today, Jamie, and it's so funny what we're talking about right now, because they've been such a huge part of my journey with this book. Because these are some of the guys who I started practicing my vulnerability on first.
Yeah.
And what Andy said to me, and what he posted about, is that it was in my kind of practice of vulnerability, it allowed him to be vulnerable too. And actually, his wife, Asia, posted this beautiful thing when she posted the book, saying that she's seen firsthand how my bringing these guys in and having these conversations, these real, raw, honest conversations, have actually impacted their marriage. And that's the thing about vulnerability is it can be really uncomfortable to like bring your dudes in and tell them stuff and, just say, hey, I need you guys to not make fun of me right now. And this isn't funny. I want to share this thing and set that space. But when you do it, what you'll find is that all of your guy friends want to do the same thing. And if they're not mature enough, you need new guy friends. Like if you don't have a guy friend that can hold space for you when you're hurting, then he's not your friend. There's no foundation in that relationship. But if you call a dude up, or if you text someone, or if you're like, hey, I'm really struggling, can we talk? Can I just share some stuff with you? I'm going through some stuff in my life. If they can't hold that, out the door.
I love that, dude.
If they can, you're going to find that your sharing invites them into sharing. Because that's how vulnerability works. That masculinity is all a performance. We model it. And the reason why, as you said, like maybe I invite an open conversation or invite vulnerability in, it's because when you're standing in front of me, you're experiencing a guy who is willingly acknowledging his shit and is being vulnerable. And you're like, oh shit, this is safe.
Yeah.
And after you share that, you're like, oh man, it feels really good. And then you feel like you know me and we're friends and we don't even know each other. Well, that's the beauty about vulnerability. That's the most basic human connection. That is the thing that we connect on. So, and you have all of these men, you have millions and millions of men who are friends, but have never been vulnerable with each other. And you got to ask yourself, is that real friendship?
Yeah.
Is it real friendship if all we talk about is sports? Is it real friendship if all we talk about is like politics and shooting the shit or like women? Are those friendships going to be the ride or die friendships? And if you look at like your deepest male friendships, they've been through something together.
Yeah.
They've been through something with you. You going through a breakup and then watching you be a puddle on the floor. It's like those times when you have no control over your feelings and the dudes are there for you. A lot of guys my age are going through divorces and they got nobody. So the guys come over and it's like they're like, once you pop that bubble and you get in there, oh my God, it's bliss. And you have true friendships where there is no bullying, where there is no harassing, where your vulnerability isn't used against you. And you can't have, you can only have so many of those, really. There's only space for so many of those because we only have so much time. So if you can create a small bubble around you with 1, 2, 5 guys where you can have that space to call on and be vulnerable with, it's life-changing because you can't put all of that on your partner or your spouse or your wife or your husband. As men, we can't do that. We got to give it to other people too.
So good. Lacey from California. I'm curious about the Baha'i. Sorry if I spelled it wrong, but what exactly is the religion similar to? Just wanting to do research on it so I can teach my son about all religions.
That is so sweet, Lacey. So I'll give you guys a glimpse into the Baha'i faith. The Baha'i faith is an independent religion. I wouldn't say it's similar to any one religion, but it is similar to all of them. The basic Baha'i belief is that we are one. We are one human family. that there's one God. And this one God is not a guy in the sky with a beard, like ruling over the entire creation and judging every single thing that we do and tallying our scores and then deciding if we go to heaven or hell. That's not what the Baha'is believe. The Baha'is believe that God is an unknowable essence, meaning that God is exalted beyond our comprehension. We are finite beings and God is infinite. So how could human beings ever imagine the thing that created them, right? This pen cannot comprehend me. I'm holding the pen. Although, guess what? Inside, what makes up the pen at a molecular level is identical to what makes me up. It's all atoms, it's all energy. But the pen has no awareness of me, but I have an awareness of the pen. So how could we ever understand something, a being, an entity, an essence that created the entire universe when we don't even understand the universe? How could we understand the creator of time when we can't even imagine a world where time doesn't exist? So the belief is that throughout the creation of man, throughout time, God sent mankind a different prophet, a different teacher, based on where man was in his spiritual development. And I use man, woman, humankind, right? Let's use these kind of words.
Yeah.
And think of it like the sun. The sun is a massive star to another planet, a big ball of gas and heat, and it is lighting up our entire solar system, and we're all orbiting the sun. The sun is far too hot and big for us to really even comprehend, but it looks small from where we are, and we know that the sun rises, even though we know it doesn't rise. The sun rises, that's each day, and its rays bring everything on this planet to life. But the sun is far too hot for us, so the sun has rays come to Earth. So that's how we think of religion. God is the sun. The rays that come to the planet to warm the planet are the religious teachers, right? Adam, Krishna, Zoroaster, Buddha, Moses, Muhammad, Jesus. These are the sun's rays that come to Earth because we can't, as human beings, get close to the sun. We'll burn. And each of these religions are essentially different chapters in one book. They're different grades in one school. And all of the religious teachers, all of these prophets of God, have all taught the same thing, but at different times and different places based on our capacity. So it's like kindergarten through 8th grade. In kindergarten, you learn 1 + 1. In 8th grade, you learn fractions and division. I don't remember what I learned in 8th grade. But you can't learn the things in 8th grade without what you learned in kindergarten.
Yeah.
And those teachers aren't disagreeing with each other. That kindergarten teacher just said, as Jesus said, I have much to tell you, but you can't bear it now. You can't bear the fractions now. But when you get to 8th grade, you can bear the fractions. So the idea is that religion has been unfolding in something called progressive revelation throughout time. And we are now at the age of maturity. And the purpose of the Baha'i faith is unity and oneness, that we are all one human family, that the central operating principle of the universe is love, that we are here on this planet for a short time and we got to be of service to each other. We got to develop the spiritual eyes and ears and limbs, just like in the womb we were developing our physical bodies. This is another womb, and we got to develop our spiritual qualities, because where we're going next is when we're going to need them. And that while we're here, we have to be independent investigators of truth. We have to question everything. We have to learn. We have to learn for ourselves. We can't rely on churches and these types of organizations anymore. We got to be independent investigators of truth. We have to be standing for justice and equality. We have to be defenders of the victims of oppression. And we have to believe in the unity and the harmony between science and religion. So all of these things encapsulate the Baha'i faith, which is why I'm writing this book, because for me, this book does two things. It's me investigating truth. It's me not being satisfied with what I've been told and sold as a man, and also me fighting for equality. Because as Abdu'l-Baha says in the Baha'i faith, humanity can be likened to two wings of a bird. On one wing is female and the other wing is male. And it's not until those wings are equivalent in strength that the bird can fly. And right now, wings are clipped and the bird is on the ground. He can't fly. And this is a part of me working with men to try to help men recognize that it's in their best interest as human beings to make sure that our wings aren't clipped and that we can fly.
Oh, Justin, Eric, I need 3 to 4 more hours to unpack what this man has to offer today. My goodness. But I'm going to stick to my job and go to the next question. But dude, let's go to Arani from the United Kingdom. Hi, Justin. What was the defining moment that made you begin your journey of self-awareness around the topic of toxic masculinity? Thanks, Arani.
It's a great question, Arani. But first, I'm going to push back because I don't say the word or the phrase toxic masculinity. And here's why. First of all, I think toxic masculinity has been misused. It was a response to like the second wave of the feminist movement in the 80s. And it was a part of this like kind of masculine movement. It was kind of like the David Data male, like masculine, feminine, spiritual things. And anyways, what's happened is that toxic masculinity has been weaponized as a phrase and become a political agenda versus a human one. And many men are using that phrase as a reason to not be open to doing this hard work of heart work, this heart exploration, because they feel that feminists hate men. And I don't think that's the case at all, right? Feminists understand that they need men. Like, we are the oppressors. We're part of the problem, right? We're the ones holding the glass ceiling up if there is one. So men have to be invited into the conversation. And I don't think you can't invite men into a conversation if we're making men feel attacked.
Yeah.
That's why I wrote this book. So that's why I wrote the book from a personal perspective and saying like, this is my stuff. Let's look at yours. And together we can have this conversation about what it really means to be a man today. So I don't say toxic masculinity, even though that's the phrase that's genuinely used to describe what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
And just also, I don't believe masculinity is toxic. I think that we have a massive problem in the patriarchy, which creates the toxicity. But like, I also think that a lot of medicine is good for me when I need it. And if I take too much of it, it's toxic.
Yeah.
Right? The medicine can also become the poison if given in the wrong dose.
Yeah.
So
you weigh in on feminism in this book?
I don't weigh in on it, but I describe myself as a feminist in that I believe in the radical notion that women are people.
Yeah.
That's really what it means. That's to me what it means to be a feminist.
Okay.
But I believe that women are human beings. And if you're a human being, you deserve every opportunity, every equal opportunity that a man does.
I love that. You too are people. I love that.
Yeah. Right. So there wasn't one thing to answer your question that got me here. It's a combination, an amalgamation of a ton of little moments over the course of my life of recognizing that who I wasn't in line with how I was acting. There was a cognitive dissonance between the things that I would say and what I actually felt. Yeah. And I would find myself putting on different masks and performing in different ways based on who I was around. I would hurt people. I would say hurtful things when I was hurt. I would interrupt with my wife. I'd take up more, being a man, being a straight white man is like having all the privilege in the world and having no awareness of all this privilege. And I would just take up space everywhere I went. And I didn't like myself. And I didn't understand why I would act the way that I would act or why I would say the things that I would say until I started questioning those things. And it took me on a path to realize that like, oh my God, this isn't even me. This is shit that's been passed down from my grandfather to my father.
What do you mean take up space?
Well, there was a term called manspreading that was coined because women were complaining about the fact that on subways men take up far too much space.
Wow.
And there's even this whole idea of women for a day would practice not moving out of the way on the sidewalk as men were walking by them and would constantly be body checked.
Wow. Yeah.
Right? And as men, we can like take up too much space, both physically and also metaphorically.
Yeah.
Like I can take up space in a conversation. with a woman because maybe I just am more aggressive but I'm taught that shit. Or I can take up space physically. I can sit down right next to my wife. I can spread my legs and I can not even realize that my physical presence is making her feel small, which is what was happening on New York subways. So much so that it became like, they even put up signs in subways saying, stop man spreading.
Wow.
Right? Because men were taking up 2 seats and there was no room for women.
Yeah.
Right. And it was a fascinating study. Even the fact that women, like there was a woman journalist who ended up doing this experiment. She would walk down the streets of New York and not get out of the way, and she would find herself like, men just don't move. We men just expect other people to move when we're walking down the path, walking down the street.
Yeah.
And she would just be body checked over and over again, and she's like, "This is fascinating." And if you think about that, what are the other areas we do that in our lives?
Oh yeah.
We do that on the subway. If you do that on the street, then you better believe it. We do it in the boardroom.
Mm-hmm.
You better believe it. We do it in our marriages.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean.
Yeah. My wife is, she's told me I need to shrink a little bit when we go out to parties together, because I will just dominate a circle of conversation and she sits there and listens to me. And there's been times I haven't even introduced her, like a animal.
Yeah, because,
like a beast.
But that's because, and that's where we got to ask why. And your why probably is because you don't feel like you're enough. And in that party, you want to make sure you feel enough.
Yeah.
And this is the thing, is we oftentimes sacrifice our humanity for our masculinity.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And our masculinity tells us that we got to be the center of attention because we want to gain approval of these people that we're talking to. And our humanity would remind us that the person you love the most is right next to you. Yeah. And they deserve to share the spotlight with you.
Yeah.
If they're the ones who are going to go home with you at the end of the night when you don't feel like you're enough after that performance at that party, and have to
did you say performance? That's sort of right between the eyes. That really sums up often what I'm, I've been told, like, wow, you're confident or whatever. And I know it's an act. I remember being a teenager and feeling horrified to walk into a room where there was people. And I remember making the decision to go, no, you're charming, you're charismatic, you're the guy. Be like Antonio Banderas, when I was in high school, he was a big star, and just be that, just be that guy. And it's totally an act. So
you're going to really enjoy the book, because I talk in the book about how when I was a kid, in high school, I would often the people behind my back would often tell me, oh, he's full of himself. And what's ironic about it is it was the opposite. I was empty of myself.
Yep.
And when you're empty of yourself, you put on the facade that you're full of yourself.
That's so accurate. We need more hours. Alejandra from Chicago says, hello from Chicago. If you were to rewrite your life, what would you do differently?
Well, to a certain extent, I believe that what happened and couldn't have happened any other way.
Sure.
So I got to start with that, because all the pain and the stupid, crappy decisions I made have informed me and allowed me to be the person I am today. And I'm still a flawed, broken person who's healing and trying to become better and don't have all the answers. And I'm so just keep that in mind.
Sure.
I think what I would do differently, if I were to rewrite my life, is to just have more compassion for myself. That's it. I wouldn't really want to change any of the situations that I was in, but I would want to be gentler and kinder to myself.
Yeah. So
I think that's where most of my pain is today as a 37-year-old man. I think it all stems from not even the world being brutal to me, but me being brutal to me.
But unconsciously brutal, right? We're not talking about looking yourself in the mirror and saying, I hate you. This is sub stuff, right? Deep in.
Yeah, but that sub stuff is deeper and darker. It's the stuff that nobody sees. It's the quiet moments when you're looking in the mirror. Yeah. And you're like, man, I wish I was different.
Yep.
It's the beating yourself up over not performing and whatever X thing is. That's really the only thing that I would do different, because I love time travel movies, and I love how
Yeah.
if you change one thing, then you realize you lose everything else.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't want to change anything. I wouldn't want to go back and make a different decision, because in the space-time continuum, geez, I could screw everything up. And then who knows? That one decision means that I don't meet my wife and I don't have my kids.
Yeah.
So I would be kinder and gentler to myself in each of the situations that I've been in over the course of my life.
That's really good. Emmy from Omaha, Nebraska. How do you motivate yourself when you begin slipping into your insecurities?
I'm going to tell you what I'm doing today, what I'm doing right now. So it's called cognitive behavioral therapy. And my therapist recently taught me this. I'm wearing a rubber band. And if I have a moment where I like read a negative comment and I start to like feel like that kid again who everyone was mean to, what my therapist tells me to do is that it's training your brain. So that's what I'm actively working on, which is when I just have a moment of like, oh, I'm not enough, or like, oh, I wish I would have said that different. I just snap it. And over time, that's how we retrain our brains, right? If you think about Pavlov, if you don't know who Pavlov is, Pavlov's dogs, right? He trained dogs to salivate by ringing a bell. And so when you hear things like a Pavlovian experiment or things like that, really everything in our world right now is based off of that data and that science. Social media, gambling, everything is built off of random reward theory and finding ways to trigger dopamine responses in our brains. And so if you think about Instagram as an example, why it's so successful, it's because you post a picture, and when you post that picture, you get likes.
Yeah.
Those likes are cookies for your brain.
Yeah, little dings.
Those cookies, those dings, that bell triggers a dopamine response and tells your brain you want more of it. And you start to become addicted to it. That's why we're all addicted to social media. It's why we're addicted to likes. And that's why we're so damn depressed. But the same thing can happen when you are untraining your brain, right? So imagine if every time if you posted a picture on social media, instead of a like, you got a shock.
Yeah.
Do you think you'd want to go on social media anymore? No. Right?
That's what's needed in the world, actually.
I'm teaching my dog how to not bark when somebody knocks on the door. How I have a remote. He's got a collar and it buzzes. There's a shock version too, but I only do the buzzing. And it just scares him for a second. It doesn't hurt him. Because every time he barks, I buzz it. He's like, oh God, what was that? And so slowly I'm going to retrain his brain. We all have the reward centers of our brain. So this is the same thing for me. So when I'm feeling like I suck, or if I wake up in the morning and I don't like how I look, pop, oh, I kind of hurt. And slowly you'll start to untrain your brain.
I love that.
That's just one way.
You can get 100 of those at Walmart for like $1.
Nothing. Exactly.
Great little tool. And Katrine, I think, from Germany. Before you actually started writing that book, did you ask experienced authors for advice about things to consider in the writing process? Or did you just jump in and try to see or feel where it leads and sort things out later? And having done it that way, what would you change or do different next time? Sounds like an author.
Yeah, it sounds like somebody who's an aspiring author or who is an author. So I didn't have a lot of author friends. I did reach out to a few friends of mine who had written books. I went back and forth. I really vacillated between the kind of book I wanted to write and the kind of book that I ended up writing. And really for me, it was I didn't feel enough to write a book. I didn't feel like I was smart enough. I didn't feel like I was intelligent enough. I didn't feel like I had read enough books to be able to write one, because for so long, because of how I learned, it was reinforced in the public school system that I wasn't smart enough.
Yeah.
Which is what happens to a lot of people. We really screw up our kids so much by putting them in the box of the way that we educate children and young adults these days. And oftentimes we do the same thing with masculinity that we do to kids in the school system. If you don't fit inside this box, then you're not smart enough. Then you're not enough. Then you're not going to have a career. You're not going to have a future. You know.
Right.
So I didn't feel like I was enough to write a book, and So at first I was going to do a collection of other people's stories. I was going to interview all these types of men. And then I realized that I had to dig in and write this book from this perspective. And as I did that, I worked with one of my best friends, who I think at the end of the book, Noelle, and she's a writer, and she really helped me organize my thoughts and find my voice and believe in myself. Right? Luckily, one of my best friends happened to be a writer, and she helped me believe in myself, believe that I was enough to write a book. And then it was a terrible process, and I was feeling so low and down, and I just wasn't sure if what I had sucked. That's when I reached out to everybody. That's when I reached out to authors and people and just said, hey, I know would you be willing to look at this and tell me if it's garbage? I can't tell anymore. And I got really, really lucky. And through mutual friends, I got a chance to meet some incredible authors like Glennon Doyle. And Glennon actually read my first draft of this book and gave me notes. One of her notes was to not be so hard on myself. I was very apologetic, I noticed, in the first draft of this book in the first few chapters, because I'm literally like apologizing as I'm writing, like I'm saying, I don't know enough. And she was like, you do know. What a powerful, incredible woman she is. And I got tips and advice and a lot of affirmation that this was good, important work. Glennon endorsed the front of the book, which was so damn sweet. I reached out to, I have friends like Jay Shetty and other folks who were writing, and that was one. I talk about this in the book, but if there's a superpower that I have, it's that I'm willing to ask for help, which is something that a lot of men are not comfortable doing. And I asked for it all the damn time.
Yeah.
And especially when it's for the greater good like this, I've noticed that people are more than happy to give their time and help. And then so I try to remember that when people ask me for my help, that I'll always try to make time for those folks and pass the elevator back down.
We're gonna do one more, and for those of you listening, there are dozens and dozens of questions that we're not going to get to. We're gonna have to apologize. It would just take hours, and this is a 1-hour interview. We love you, and we're sorry. The questions are so good too, which unfortunately I can't get to them all.
I can try to answer them here. I can try to be really fast.
Yeah. Let's see how many we can find.
If anyone bought a book and signed up and I don't answer their question, I feel bad, but I can try to be way faster with my answers.
Let's try. Let's see what we can do. Jared from Oakland, California. When I found out about this book, I honestly had second thoughts about buying a copy because I wasn't sure if I was ready as a man to be vulnerable and sensitive. How would you expect and encourage other men to read your book and have conversations and redefine masculinity?
It's a great question, man. I can keep this one simple. As men, we love going to the gym. When we go to the gym, we push ourselves. We pick up weights, and the intention of us lifting those weights is to cause micro injuries in our muscles, to tear down our muscle fibers so that we can grow stronger and healthier, so that we can become more flexible, so we can become bigger, faster, stronger, all these things. But we intentionally go into that gym knowing that we're going to be inflicting pain on ourselves. And we've normalized that pain. As Schwarzenegger coined the term, the pain, the no pain, no gain. If it doesn't start growing until it starts burning, right? So we have to have that same mindset outside of the gym. It's socially acceptable for us to put ourselves through pain in the gym, but it's not socially acceptable to put ourselves through emotional growth and uncomfortability outside of the gym emotionally. And what I would say is that's how you do it. This is the real gym. That's the fake gym. This is where the real work begins. This is the work that's going to dictate the happiness of your life, the successfulness of a marriage, maybe if you decide you want to have, and how you raise your kids one day. So this is where the work starts, and you don't start growing until it starts to burn. So Schwarzenegger was right.
Let's go. Looks like Doha from Maryland. How can we encourage teenage boys to open up with family about their feelings, or at least help them recognize that they are not less of a man if they show emotion?
By creating safe spaces for teenage boys, by validating their emotions and their feelings when they have them, by not wanting to protect them from the pain of the world by like toughening them up. There's a whole method of parenting that says you need to treat your kids the way the world's going to treat them. And I think that's such bullshit. The world's going to do trauma and like hurt your kids. You don't need to treat. We need to be creating safe spaces for kids, especially young boys, to feel to open up, not have their vulnerabilities shamed. And that's hard for parents because a lot of the things that young boys and teens are going to talk about is going to make parents uncomfortable. So if your kids start coming to you asking about sex, you can't become uncomfortable as a parent. You got to get into that cold plunge. You got to get into that emotional gym and figure out how to have those conversations. If you find out your kids having sex or smoking pot or doing something they're not supposed to do, and you just make them feel like shit about it and don't start a conversation about it, guess what's going to happen? They're just going to feel shame. They'll never come back to you, and they're going to keep doing what they're doing anyways because their friends are doing it. The way that we need to be parenting is by creating safe spaces to have conversations once our children are able to have them with us. We have to be educating them, using our life experiences as anecdotes and helping them come into their humanity. And that starts very, very young by affirming their feelings when they have them and not shaming them.
Really good. Got to take one more. This one's great and a good one to close on. Raul from California, when did you realize that you were man enough?
As I said, I just wrote a book called Man Enough, and yet don't feel man enough to have written it. That is a journey that I have to take every single day. I don't think there's ever going to be a time when I will just always 100% of the time feel enough. Nor do I know anybody will in this life. That's like saying that we'll reach a point in our life where we will have no ego. No, we'll always have an ego. It's about gaining control of that ego. And every day I'm going to wake up and I know that I'm on a journey that day to being enough. And if I can get there, great. And if I can't get there, then I also got to have compassion for myself and empathy and love for myself, and then try again the next day. My goal is I got to be a little bit better today than I was yesterday. And some days I'm going to be a little worse, but then I got to be a little better the next day. So it's a constant journey. It's a never ending journey. And that's what makes life so damn beautiful. We've never arrived. It's about the journey.
Keep popping that rubber band, right?
Exactly.
Hey, look, so we've got over 100 questions still. We obviously can't get to them. We apologize. But I wonder, Justin, if we could carve 2 more minutes to do some rapid fire. We want to surprise you with 22 questions in 2 minutes. Do you think?
Oh my God. Okay.
Are you game?
I mean, yeah, I guess so. 22 questions. All right.
Yeah,
I don't do well with like short, so we'll see.
I noticed.
I'm like a talker.
Yeah, let's see how short and sweet we could get. Let's see if we could really get it in 2 minutes. All right, let's do this. Who would you like to have dinner with, past or present?
Abdul Baha.
Which one?
Of the Baha'i Faith.
Yep. Game of Thrones or Stranger Things?
Stranger Things.
Favorite breakfast food?
Sugary cereal.
Yeah. What's your favorite genre of music?
Singer-songwriter.
Your idol growing up?
My dad.
Favorite international cuisine?
Oh my God, Thai food. Pad Thai.
Favorite candy bar?
Milky Way.
Favorite season?
Summer.
Favorite childhood memory?
Going to the set of Rocky V with my dad.
Cool. Did you ever have an imaginary friend?
Not that I remember.
You have a favorite animal?
Dolphin.
What's your go-to workout?
Some type of Tabata thing that, a mix of a bunch of workouts.
What do you never leave home without?
My cell phone right now.
Favorite superhero?
Wolverine.
Favorite time of day?
Morning.
You ever ridden in a hot air balloon?
Yes.
Was it awesome or horrible?
It was both. Luckily, I was filming. It was a documentary, and I was helping a dream come true of somebody who was sick that wanted to go in a hot air balloon. So.
Oh wow. Favorite board game?
Monopoly.
Favorite pizza topping?
Barbecue chicken pizza.
Favorite teacher? Spiritual, history, school, anything?
Baha'u'llah, the Baha'i Faith.
Do you like movie popcorn with or without butter?
Butter.
Favorite author?
Glennon Doyle right now.
Who in your life has impacted you the most?
My wife.
Well, that is all the time we have, unfortunately. This has been so meaningful for me, just the conversation alone. This book, I just learned in this interview, is so much more than I thought it was. And if you'd like to get it, it's a limited edition autograph book. We think it's really special. Go to premiercollectibles.com/man enough. And whether you're a collector or lover of books, Premier Collectibles has the best-selling author-signed books that everyone wants. So if you want to be part of the live signing experience with more of your favorite authors, follow Premier Collectibles on Instagram or Facebook. Justin, how can we connect with you, follow your work, hear more, et cetera, et cetera?
I'm Justin Baldoni on all the social media platforms, and you can follow our work at Man Enough. And yeah, just I guess just that, Justin Baldoni.
Very cool. Well, again, thanks so much for being here. From all of us at Premier Collectibles, all of your fans watching, this has been really special. And we'll see you all later.
Thank you so much, Danny. Much love. Bye, everybody. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, stay on the line with us, Justin. We're going to talk to you, but see you guys.